What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm running through numbers. I'm continuing to run through numbers and try to figure out what is the problem with the Lions and how can we fix it for next season. And I think I'm getting somewhere, but I need your guys' help in the comments below. So let's get it started. Okay, so that is right. I have some numbers. I'm starting to get a start, but I need you guys to comment below maybe some ideas, some thoughts. If you guys have stats, something that you think, we can build on for next season. But really, I'm trying to figure out what the problem is, and I've come to it where it's not really the offense. When Stafford's healthy, our offense was good enough to be a playoff team. It's what the heck is wrong with the defense, and where do we need to really fix the defense mainly? Because is it the entire defense, like rushing, passing, and everything? I've come to, not a conclusion, but I've gathered a lot of information, and I've come to a few maybe realizations that I didn't have before that I think may help us a little bit when we're talking about the Detroit Lions defensively. We know we were really bad defensively, but I decided to take a look at all of the other playoff teams. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anybody. Take a look at all our playoff teams, see where they ranked and what they did defensively compared to what we did, okay? If there was something glaring that they did better than us, that was consistently teams did better than us, or, if we were actually similar to teams, which we were at some things. So the first thing, I think this is the biggest thing that I came across was interceptions. Now, interceptions, passing defense, those things kind of go hand in hand, and so does pressure. We know all of those three things are very important. So looking at interceptions, the Lions actually had the lowest amount of interceptions out of any team in the playoffs, okay? Out of every playoff team, and then the Lions, you compare Lions to every single playoff team, the Lions had the least amount of interceptions. Now, what's interesting about the Lions having the least amount of interceptions is that they had 7. And last year, 2018, they also had 7. And that seemed to be the one piece defensively they were missing, getting some turnovers, because they took a pretty nice dip last season. And, we talked about that last season. It was kind of a big deal. And when you looked at the two other teams that were also down there with us last season, it was the Green Bay Packers. So we knew in 2018 went 6-9-1. Now they're 13-3. And we also know the San Francisco 49ers had 7 interceptions. And we know in 2018 they were really bad. They had the same situation. Garoppolo was hurt. And this year they were a Super Bowl team. Okay, so then if that's the case, if they're down there with us, where did they rank in 2019 interceptions-wise? Is that the main difference? Well, we got 7 once again, so we stayed the same. We had 7 interceptions once again, and when you look at the rest of the playoff teams, you can see that the Green Bay Packers, let me find them on here, there's a lot of teams on here. The Green Bay Packers actually had 17 interceptions, so they got 10 more interceptions than they did the year before. That has actually a huge impact. Now, the 49ers, not as big of a jump, but they did have 12. That's actually the lowest amount out of any playoff team, but still, 12 is 5 more than the Lions, which 5 extra possessions can change games, right? Because we were 3-4-1 before Stafford goes down. You're changing 5 games, or at least 3 games, something like that. That's the difference between being a playoff team and not. Now, we know the Niners were not, just a playoff team. They were really, really good. So that's the first thing that stuck out to me. I'll run through the list quick. The Bills had 14 interceptions. The Patriots actually had like 25 interceptions. Ravens had 13. Vikings 17. Seahawks 16. Titans 14. Chiefs 16. Maybe surprise you a little bit there. Saints 13. 12 Texans. And Eagles had at least amount with 11, but the Eagles were borderline a playoff team. Let me just say that, all right? The division, I don't even like to include the Eagles. No hate to the Eagles, but man, come on, man. Okay. Now, sacks are big to me, because I look at this and I say, okay, interceptions are super important, turnovers. How do you get more interceptions? Well, for me, it's always about looking at sacks. And I also looked at the pass defense. And when I looked at the pass defense, I found that the Lions are also the worst in the league pass defensively. Now, they ranked 32. We know they were the worst pass defense team in the league. So why is that? Now, at the same time, I also decided to look at rest of the teams. And you can see there's actually a lot of teams that didn't rank very high pass defensively. Seattle 27, Texans 29, 20 Saints, 19 Eagles, and then you get into the teams like the Packers, who ranked 14, Chiefs 8, 6 Ravens, 4 Bills, 2 Patriots, 1 49ers, okay? That's how they rank. But still, all those teams are still higher than us, but yet, we weren't too far off. However, when you look at the sacks, you're going to see that we were not even in the same area as some of these teams. So, for me, sacks and interceptions kind of go hand in hand, right? So I decided to see if they really did. Well, the Lions had 28 sacks this season, which actually, I believe it's a 15 sack decrease from last season, which is super important because that's not good, obviously. They had a lot more sacks last season. Jared Davis had 6 last season. He didn't do that this season. A lot of injuries, okay? We'll come back to that. But teams like the Niners had 48 sacks, 20 more sacks than we did. Okay, teams Packers, they had 41 sacks. They had 41 sacks, Packers did. Bills had 44. Patriots 47. Ravens 37. Vikings 48. Seahawks 28. They were the only team that was tied with us. Seahawks are very interesting here. Titans 43. Chiefs 45. What is this? I think Saints 51. 51 sacks. 31 sacks for the Texans and 43 sacks for the Eagles. So the majority, other than really the Seahawks and kind of the Texans, everyone else, they were way better defensively when it comes to getting sacks. So they had more interceptions and they got more sacks than us. Those are two things that really made the difference defensively when I looked at us. Because I said, okay, well, what about rush defense, right? I would think stopping the run is super important. But then I also thought, maybe it's not, because think of how today's game is played. A lot of people like to throw the ball, but you can win by running the football. So rush defensively, we actually ranked 21st. Not good, not terrible, but we still were above Green Bay, Houston, the Chiefs, and Seattle. We were above all of those teams. Like I said, we were below them, though, when it comes to sacks and interceptions. So stopping the pass, what I've kind of came to is that stopping the pass is actually... Matt Patricia wants to stop the run first, which is important because 21 has to be better, consistently better because you're only better than 4 playoff teams. But stopping the pass to me seems like the best thing because pass defense, we ranked worst in the league. We ranked worst out of all the other playoff teams, okay? The Lions ranked worst. And that's because they were last. They were last in the league at 32. Seattle 27, like I said, Texas 29. We ranked worst. So what I've gotten for this is that against the pass is where it's really important, right? What are you doing against the pass? Now, the Chiefs, like them, they ranked 8th against the pass. They also had 16 sacks. So sacks, that comes into play right there. Forced fumbles as well. I wanted to look at more turnovers. The Lions had 16 forced fumbles, which is actually good. That's one place that they held their own. Other than the Niners, they held their own there. They're actually really high on that list for forced fumbles. So they forced fumbles, but the rest of it was they were bad pass defensively. They were 21st against the run. Not good. But obviously a few other playoff teams. I mean, the Chiefs were worse against the run. And, we were putting up points offensively. So Stafford healthy. Assume Stafford's healthy here. I don't know if the Lions are that far. I'm trying to figure out how far the Lions really are from these playoff teams. I don't think they're that far. Not offensively. Offensively, I think they're there. You keep Stafford healthy, you can be a playoff team with this offense. I've talked about it during last season. But however, defensively, we're not there. But I think I'm starting to come I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Just trying to come to the thought that I think pass defense is the most important, and that's where we need to improve. And as you can see, we don't get a lot of sacks. We don't force any turnovers, which are two huge things. Now, we force fumbles, but we don't get interceptions or sacks. Those two things are huge, and we were worse pass defensively. So how can we improve that? Well, again, getting more pressure. We didn't get a lot of pressure last season, and it doesn't have to be necessarily blitzing. I don't think you need a blitz to be successful, but if that is the case, you need pass rushers. So once again, back to defensive tackle. A guy like Chris Jones would work wonders if we get him from the Chiefs. Because look at the Chiefs. Chiefs forced 16 interceptions last season and 45 sacks. They're not a great defensive team, but those two things were great. Those two things they did extremely well. They got pressure and they got interceptions. They were opportunistic. They were an opportunistic defense, and that's what the Lions need to get to. They need to become opportunistic. We've seen it at times where they are opportunistic and we compete. Look at the Chiefs game. We were not a good defense. We were opportunistic, though. We forced a lot of fumbles, and we gave the offense chances, and really, if we get one stop, we win the game. Okay, there were games this year with Stafford we have shown if you're opportunistic, you can be a playoff team. And the Lions were not that this season. They weren't, other than forced fumbles. And a lot of them really were in the beginning of the season, and then it kind of dried out. So I think what we have to do is find a way to get more sacks. And if that's not bringing pressure, I think, you got to stack that D-line. That's why I always say trenches. I think, again, it comes back to trenches. And maybe another coverage guy. I think a corner would make a lot of sense here, adding another corner. But my thing is this, if a quarterback has all day, it doesn't matter how good your corners are. We were tied for last in sacks. We didn't get a lot of pressure this season. So it doesn't matter how good your corners are if you can't get any pressure. So I think pressure is where we have to go. And I think we should be looking at edge rushers. We need to be looking at beast defensive tackles like Chris Jones. Those guys can get crazy pressure from that position. So that's where I'm starting. If you guys have any thoughts, leave them in the comments below. I don't know what I'm going to call this. This is kind of just me throwing stuff out there. I don't really have a series name for this. If you guys want me to continue this, let me know. But as I come up with information and I react to what you guys are saying, I'll read your comments and, I'll listen to all of them for sure. And once I'm going to try to keep working through this and trying to figure out what the problem is. That's where I am so far. I guess this is how close are the Lions to being a playoff team? It may be titled something like that. I don't know. But this will probably be a series. So if you want to see this continue, let me know. But let me know your thoughts on this. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.